was about damn time for that arrogant jackass to have a villainous breakdown. But before you ask, yes, there is something wrong with my voice. And before you ask, no, I do not know what it is. I do not think it is a cold. It's a pollen season back in my country, you know, where the spores of all these trees and flowers bloom, and I'm a pollen, we call it pollen allergic. Although technically this is the first time it has caused my voice to be so hoarse, coughing. It has always caused my nose to be sniffling. Do not know how long this is gonna be. Part of me think it's permanent. Part of me think it's just gonna stay inside for another 2 weeks. So, if this review has too much of a hoarsing voice, sorry, you have to deal with it. 'Cause I'm just gonna sound like that forever right now. I do not even dare to do my voice acting like wannabe stuff. But now on to the chapter. Yes, Erina, this is the Shokugeki no Soma chapter 261, finally translated, and as the first seat and the second seat have their sweating constantly, which is good, they're finally also having their villainous breakdowns. Asami, once again in his arrogance, says he couldn't bear to see his daughter in this state, someone who is so rebellious, someone who improvises, or someone who just do this and that. He cannot acknowledge that. It is, yes, pure arrogance in his language, you know. But even so, Erina pours some sparks of gold, oddly looking very similar to those things that Soma did on the first dish he ever served her. It's transforming furikake. Very indeed the same thing. And with that, the broth transforms, and everyone takes a bite. And the ladies have a sexy foodgasm indeed, calling it gorgeous, almost like they're enveloped by slippery like tentacles or something like that. One of them describes that the first and the second seat brought them to Eden. However, this servant of God has brought them to the heavens itself, in the same kind of foodgasm that, Soma gave Erin all this time ago. Even the angels have the same trolling face as Soma does. As Erina says with full courage to her father that she will not spare any effort. This is my speciality, le plat veritable, true gourmet flying away from the academy, delinquent daughter style. As Asami gets angry hearing that, he begins to call her just a girl and says that those that have that kind of passion will only be rendered useless, as he still remembers the time when he looked at the idol he always idolized. And just like Soma, Yoshiro stayed up all night just to further polish his dishes, and at that time Asami just questioned why. If he was so good at that time, why make all the trouble to just stay up night to evolve it further? And Yoshiro has the same words as Soma did that time. It's the fact that if it can evolve even further, it get me excited. So this is also made a little bit more clearer what Asami wanted. For him, true gourmands are those that are not passionate about their cooking, but only cook what they can cook, and that's it. Because he says that chefs that allow themselves to be inflamed with passion they face will eventually be spent. That is the truth of my grand revolution. He only wanted chefs that have passion for cooking, such as always wanted to challenge themselves and get better. He didn't want those kind of chefs, which is why he always aimed for the the Elite 10. They never wanted to evolve. They only wanted that kind of flavor, and the first seat was the same. That was his taste and that was his flavors. And he never pushed himself to improve because he only wanted to do the flavor he wanted to do. So he cannot acknowledge this dish even though he has his villainous breakdown. Suddenly, however, a huge sound is heard, almost like an explosion. As Asami looks around, everyone suddenly screams terrifyingness. And so Erina, with a smile, yes, says, "Tell me, father, how did it taste?" "What was that sound we just heard?" "Well, we don't know. People described it as an explosion." I think I think we all can agree that it must have been the bestowing. Only this time, the entire class. Granted, however, we saw some class members and they hadn't stripped yet, so we can only say some. The bestowing this time bestowed almost the entire hall of students, meaning that Asami is lying. He do not want to acknowledge this dish because that means his goal of eliminating those chefs that have passion in their hearts uh, of cooking. I mean, how am I lost my words. And that means Asami have to acknowledge people that wants to evolve their cooking for passion despite having his revolution, not aiming for that. Oh, uh, well, Asami, that's not good for you. So, well, yeah, I guess that's it. The bestowing has now happened all across the hall, and that's why they all have that reaction. So, Asami, you have no other choice than to acknowledge this dish. There are three judges. Perhaps you won't. Then again, if they vote for the two, shouldn't that make Erina's win? Or, no, wait, it was 3-on-3. No, it doesn't. Well, we'll see, right? If you really bestow the entire clan, then that means you acknowledge this dish, Asami. So drop your pathetic arrogance and just admit it. What you cannot realize, Asami, is that true chefs that spend themselves too much on the passion eventually lose their passion. But that's because they just have to slow down. Yoshiro didn't slow down because he just kept on challenging himself after people said, "What are you going to do next?" Soma keeps challenging himself no matter what. So he just has to realize that true gourmets challenge themselves to evolve their flavors. But it also means that they do not have to become insane in that challenge itself. That's basically this chapter. Sorry if you couldn't understand me. I cannot help it if my voice is hoarse. And let me tell you, I am currently myself having a breakdown. I'm deeply worried this hoarse voice is permanent. I'm not even sure if it was allergy hoarse throat. But it may very well be that way, which probably means that it's gonna be staying for the last couple of months. Which, as a guy who had liked voice acting, that is not good news. But we're not talking about my pain here. Let's just talk about Asami and acknowledge that dish already. For this should be the Rebels' win. Give me your thoughts if you have any.